As your artwork becomes more complex in nature, the need to create accurate selections in Illustrator becomes more and more important. Illustrator provides several tools and features for creating selections that will save you both time and energy when working in Illustrator. So I'm beginning with the selections.ai file already open on my machine. And what I want to do is just start by showing you some different ways that we can select objects. So the most basic way you can select elements is using your selection tools. So what I could do is I can come up here and I can shift click to select several of these options. So I'm basically just shift clicking to select all these components in the front here. Now, there are going to be times when I need to focus on the background and I really don't want to deal with these frontmost items. So even if I want to hide them, I need to initially select them or at least make them into a layer. But for now, I want to focus basically on these selections. Now, I have these items selected, so one of the most effective things you can do in Illustrator is come up here to the Select menu and choose Save Selection. And I'm just going to give this selection a name. I'm going to call it Front Items. And when I click OK, you're not really going to see anything happen here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to click out here on my canvas to deselect that item. And then I'll go to the Select menu, and you'll notice that you have a new option at the very bottom called Front Items. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Front Items, and you'll notice that immediately you have these items selected. Now I'm going to click out here on my canvas again to deselect them. And you're going to find that as you're working in Illustrator, you may decide to select only a couple of items. So I'm going to Command click on Mac or Control click on Windows to just select a couple of these items here. So maybe we'll just shift click and select some of these elements. And eventually you're going to run into a situation where you have the items selected and you go to do something and you accidentally deselect those items. And you think to yourself, boy, I got to go back and reselect them all over again. Well, another useful feature is under the Select menu, you have this command called Reselect. So if I choose that, it's going to reselect the last items that I had selected. Pretty powerful. And take note, if you go to the Select menu, the shortcut for that is Command 6. Now, another great thing you could do is you could select a couple of items. So I'll just shift click on these two stars. You could go to the Select menu and choose Inverse, and that's going to select everything but those two stars. So oftentimes when you have complex selections that you're trying to make, it's often easier to select what you don't want to select and then just inverse the selection. Also in the Select menu, you can select all active on the artboard, and then you can also drill down in the stacking order. So as an example, if I select this star and go to Select, I can choose Next Object Below. It'll select the star below it. Go to the Select menu again, Next Object Below, and it'll select the next object within your stacking order. Pretty helpful when you're working with complex artwork such as this. Now, the other thing that becomes really powerful if you go to the Select menu is you have this same submenu. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Direct Selection tool and I'm going to click on one of these orange polygons. And with that selected, I can go to the Select menu and I can choose Same Fill Color. Now it's selecting every object in my document that has that orange fill. Really, really powerful when you're trying to isolate different colors. Now, there's an easy solution to that. If you applied a swatch to these objects and it's a global color, that can make it a lot easier too, because you can change the color of the swatch and they'll all update as well. But for now, these are not global swatches, so I need to select them manually. I'll go ahead and deselect that. What we can also do is click on one of these stars, and I can go to Select Same Stroke Color. And you'll notice it selects every object that has a stroke color of white. You can experiment with these different selection options. You can choose the same appearance, blending mode, fill and stroke, fill only, opacity, stroke color, and stroke weight. Very, very easy ways that you can select different elements in your document. In addition, I should point out that once you've saved a couple of selections, you can also go to Edit Selection and you can delete or rename any selections that you've created. So remember, once you spend the time to create your selection, go ahead and save that so you have it for future reference. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel for now. Another tool that we have that's helpful for making selections is the lasso tool. If I select this tool, the lasso tool works in a very fundamental way in that you basically just draw a shape and it will select anything found within that shape. So it's click and drag, and I'm just going to draw a unique shape here. And when I let go, it's going to select any object that was partially overlapping that selection area. So this lasso tool at times can be quite useful as well. Now I'm going to go to the select menu and choose deselect. That way I have nothing selected in my document. And another powerful tool we have is the magic wand tool. I'm going to click on that. And the way the magic wand tool works is you click on an item, and then its job is to select other items with the same color. So if I click on one of these red polygons or magenta polygons, you'll notice that it selects every object that has that magenta color in your document. I'm going to go ahead and choose select, deselect. So I have nothing selected. Now there's some hidden features in this magic wand tool, because if you double click on that tool, it's going to bring up your magic wand panel. And this can also be accessed by going to the window menu and choosing magic wand from the list. But what this does is determines what is going to happen when you use this tool. So you can see that by default, it's going to select other items with the same fill color. Now you have a tolerance setting over here. And the way that the tolerance setting works is that the lower the tolerance, the more specific the selection is going to be. The higher the tolerance, the more general the selection is going to be. So for example, I can click on this arrow and I'll drag this to about 50. So I'll increase the tolerance a bit. And now if I click on that magenta color, you'll notice that the selection area has creeped in to other colors of a similar nature. So that's how you control your selection area. And this is now selected magenta as well as similar colors that go along with it. If I drag this down to 30 or type 30 in the field, and I deselect this, and then click on magenta again, you'll notice that now it's not selecting as many colors. And you really have to play around with this tolerance to control what exactly gets selected. Again, when you create a selection, don't forget you can go to the select menu, choose save selection, and I'll just call this magenta BG for background items. And that way, I don't have to go through this process every time I want to make a modification to those objects. In addition, in the Magic Wand panel, you can select only objects of the same stroke color. So if I deselect all of these, I'm going to use the shortcut this time, Shift-Command-A on Mac or Shift-Control-A on Windows. I'm going to turn off fill color and choose stroke color. And if I click on this star, you'll notice that not only the front star gets selected, but the second star and the starburst behind it. So there's a lot of things you can do inside of this Magic Wand panel to control how things get selected. As you can see, there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to creating selections in Illustrator. Understanding how to make and save selections will make you a more effective Illustrator user. Put these concepts into practice with your own artwork, and you'll immediately see how much time you can save by saving selections for future use.